Are you guys tired of feeling that your settings aren't right or just don't look or feel a certain type of way? Well, don't stress, because I'm going to be giving you all the correct stuff so you can be more confident in your game like this.
I made a million bitch to do like the mini. Come like a cam like the mix. Moving up like a game for sure, for sure. She told me how can you pay me some. Moving around time I be gone to show for sure. I thought I told you I make it. I fed that bitch and then begging to beat me. Let me see, make it she know I am busy. Got 100 bands by my side.
What's up YouTube? So in today's video I'm going to be giving you all of my controller, graphics and audio settings in MW3. They'll be excellent for ranked play, Warzone and even casual, so stay tuned. Also, if you guys haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Anyway, let's get to it. Right guys, so for quick settings, so for the horizontal and vertical sensitivity I have mine at 6. I'd say 6 is the most balanced sensitivity. You get a bit of both worlds. It's not too fast and it's not too slow. And also this is what a lot of the pros are actually playing on. So my personal advice, I wouldn't use anything under 4 and I wouldn't use anything higher than 7, because I feel like if it's under 4 it's just way too slow, like you're putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. And then if it's over 6, I just feel like it's just unnecessary. Like unless you're like a TikToker or someone that goes for flashy clips, you really don't need to be playing on anything higher than 7. Right, so for Right, so for flipped, I personally don't play this. If you are someone that does play flipped and you are watching this video, I recommend just leaving it on because, yeah, it can be good. Controller vibration, you definitely want this off because it can be very distracting and you just don't need it. Same with trigger effect as well. Make sure this isn't on. Like, fair enough if you're playing a single player game, but you don't want your full haptics on while playing an online FPS. It will just get you killed if anything. Also, another thing I want to show you guys as well is the button layouts. So I actually play default as I play something called claw. This is where you use your middle finger for the trigger and you hover your index fingers over the buttons on the right side of the controller. I play claw because it's a free scuff since you can jump and drop shot without taking your thumbs off the analog sticks. However, if you're someone that uses paddles, which are just buttons at the back of your controller by the way, you're going to also want this button layout on default. So the first button layout I would recommend is tactical. This button layout allows you to drop shot, slide cancel and snake way easier, since you're using your right stick to crouch / prone, and circle or B if you're on Xbox to melee. This then means you wouldn't have to remove your thumbs from the analog sticks, giving you way more control. Secondly, stick and move is another great layout I would suggest because it allows you to jump shot without taking your thumbs off the analog sticks. Depending on what your playstyle is, if you're someone who would rather jump shot with more control and precision, then I would go for this. So with this button layout, instead of using your right stick to melee, it's going to be used for jumping instead. And X or A if you're on Xbox is now going to be used for melee. Lastly guys, if you're looking for a layout that can do both, maybe look into L1 bumper jumper tactical. For Xbox, just replace L1 with LB and you'll find it. I don't know many people that play this. I only found out about it myself a little over a month ago. But if you're someone that doesn't play claw or have paddles and want to jump and drop shot more consistently, maybe give this a go. If you can get used to it, it will be very rewarding. Right guys, after them button layouts, there's actually a couple more things I need to go over under the controller section. So for L1 button ping, I personally have this off. If you are someone that does prefer though to ping with L1, then keep this on. For stick layout preset, make sure this is on default. I haven't touched this, most people don't mess around with that. Right guys, so for the dead zone inputs, I'm actually going to pause it for you now and I'm going to go over what I use and why I do. So for dead zones, there's definitely a couple of things you should copy from mine, but it all just depends on the current state of your controller. Like, if your controller has stick drift, I wouldn't recommend 5 for the left and right stick min. I would actually set this to default, which is 10, and go up 1 from there until you don't notice any drift. For your L2 and R2 button dead zones, for Xbox that's LT and RT I believe, you want to make sure this is on 0, because it allows for less input when clicking your aim and trigger, which will be very beneficial, since you'll be able to aim and fire much quicker. And then for my right and left stick max, if you want to copy mine, they're both just on 90. Right guys, now that we've done dead zones, we're now going to move on to the aiming section. So for horizontal and vertical, we already done that earlier, 6.6. Right, so I'm going to go over this setting here quickly. So if you guys notice, this is actually locked. In order to toggle this secret setting, you will need to turn off your custom sensitivity per zoom, but don't worry, we'll come back to this. So scroll down until you see something called custom sensitivity per zoom, untick that. Once you've done that and you're now back to this screen, you're going to want to put this to 1. This is quite an underrated setting, and in fact, this was actually the default ADS sense multiplier for MW2. So if you found it harder to aim or you felt like there was less aim assist than last year, this is probably why. Right guys, so with that out the way, this next thing here, sensitivity multiplier, everyone just keeps this on normal. So don't even mess around with this. Same with the vertical aim axis as well, this is all default. Tactical stance, keep this on default, which is 1. But you see this setting here, aim response curve type, you're going to actually want this on dynamic. The reason for this is because it makes you the most snappy when aiming onto a target. Literally all the best players run this setting, pros for example, so you're going to want to have this on. Right guys, so for the ADS sense multiplier focus, make sure this is 1, which is the default. Same with the ADS sensitivity transition timing, this is also default, which is instant. Right guys, so for the custom sensitivity per zoom, have this on. And I'm going to show you mine, so I'm going to quickly pause it now. Right guys, for custom sensitivity per zoom, you're going to just want 0.8 for low zoom, 2 times 3 times, and 4 times 5 times. The reasoning behind this is if you have this a bit lower from default, it will actually make tracking your opponents a lot easier when aiming. And anything above 4 times 5 times, I've kept default. Because let's be honest, when do you ever use magnification that high? It's usually quite rare, even for Warzone. Right guys, so after you've done the custom sensitivity per zoom, you want to head over to the aim assist section. So for the target aim assist, you want this to be on. I'm sorry, but if you don't have this on, then you're just trolling. For the aim assist type, you actually want this on default. Black Ops used to be the best, it isn't the best anymore, so head with default. And then for the third person ADS correction type, make sure this is on assist. That is a default setting. And then for both of the motion settings, you're not going to want to touch this. These are just both default. Right, moving on to the gameplay section. So for the gameplay section, you're going to want automatic tac sprint on. This basically means that instead of having to like double click to get a tac sprint's where your gun goes in the air and you get like a little speed boost. So instead of having this like off, if you have it on automatic, it means it's going to automatically put you in like the sprinting position where you get the boost. So you want to have this on. And also you can save out your controller as well. With slide maintain sprint, I personally have this off as I like to have full control over my slide. But if you're someone that's not too big into movement, you just want to just get it done, I would recommend having this on. But me personally, if you want to copy my settings, I have this off. Auto move forward, I have this on default, which is off. Another really big setting that I use is single tap sprint. So instead of double tapping to actually go into a sprint, all you have to do is just press your left stick forward and you will go into a sprint. So make sure this is single tap sprint as well. A lot of good players run this also. Grounded mantle, I actually have this on. If you are someone that gets stuck on objects when you're trying to like jump and stuff, or you're in a gunfight and it might accidentally mantle you over something, I'd recommend having this off. But me personally, I like to have this on because it can help you out sometimes. Automatic airborne mantle, I have this on partial. I think this is just a default. Automatic ground mantle slash hang, this is also default. Right, so slide slash dive behavior. So for this, I have slide only because if you actually have tap to slide, there's actually a delay there because the game basically has to decide whether you're going to slide or dive. So I have mine on slide only. If you are someone that likes to dive here and there, go for hybrid. But me personally, I just think slide only is the best. For plunging underwater, this would be more onto like Warzone. For this, I have mine on trigger. If you are someone that plays Warzone all the time though, I would go for free because free can be very helpful at times. But me, I have it on trigger. Also, another big Warzone setting, parachute, automatic behavior. If you're playing Warzone, don't have this on free fall. And if you can get lower to the ground, it means you're going to be able to loot up even quicker. So have this on off. Sprint and door bash, have this on. That's a default setting. Ledge climb behavior, that's a default setting. Mantle only. For all of this, so this is default, 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 default. So don't mess around with any of this. This setting here though, interact slash reload behavior, make sure this is on tap to reload if you play multiplayer. But to be honest, you could use prioritize interact if you are a big Warzone player. It makes more sense. Like you can do anything with like the click of a button. And if you're a fancy sort of player, then I would go for this. But me personally, I have tap to reload because I feel like when you're playing multiplayer, there could be like a lot of weapons in that on the floor and you don't want to just pick it up accidentally. So I have this on personally, but this is a really good shout though. Prioritize interact. Another setting for Warzone as well. Make sure you have this on apply all, so you can put all the plates on at once. You don't have to keep selecting plates every time you have an individual one. It will just put them all on for you at once. This is on default, AES stick swap, backpack control default. So this is default, 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 default. All of this here, guys, is default. Right, moving on to the graphic settings now. So for the graphic settings, you're going to want to make sure you have on-demand texture streaming. Make sure this is off, because this actually can cause packet bursts, and if you're someone that doesn't have the best connection, it's just going to trouble with your internet. So make sure you have this off. For world motion blur, make sure you have this off. Weapon motion blur off. Film grain all the way to 0. Depth of field off. The reason why you want these 4 settings off, guys, is because they just affected you visually, and it just makes things harder to see, and you don't want that. Fidelity FX cast, make sure this is on. This will make things a lot more sharper. And then put the strength all the way to 100. And then for sustainability, make sure this is off. This basically uses up power on your console. You don't want any like unnecessary power consumption, so make sure you have this off, guys. For 120 hertz, if you have a monitor that supports 120, make sure you have this ticked, of course. Field of view, I've actually gone for 110. 110 is actually the meta right now on Warzone, so I would highly recommend this. It's also what DS Biffle uses. And also, if you're someone that plays multiplayer or even casual, I would say 110 is like good middle ground. Like, you don't lose aim assist using 110 than when you use 120. And also, I feel like it's good as well for multiplayer too. Like, it's not too zoomed out. It's just perfect. Third person zoom, I don't play third person, but if they ever do add third person back, I recommend having this on 90. Just so you can see a bit more of your surroundings. For first person movement, you want to have this on at least 50%, because if it's on default, which is 100, it makes your camera movements very shaky, and it can just be very annoying at times. Same with third person. If they ever add it back, put this to 50% as well. Inverted flashbang, you're actually going to want this on, because instead of seeing like a massive bright light when you get stunned or flashed, it's better to just make sure it's darker, because it's not as like distracting sort of thing. Like, I don't know, it's easier for the eyes as well, so I would recommend having that on. Third person AES transition, this is going to be on default. For spectator camera, you want to have this on game perspective. This can help you out on multiplayer as well as Warzone, because you're actually going to be seeing your teammates POV. And then all this just depends on what monitor you have, but you see for safe area, click on this. You want to minimize this to the smallest as possible, because it will make seeing your HUD a lot easier. For example, your radar and your compass. Everything will be as close to your screen as possible. Right guys, moving on to audio now. Right guys, so for the audio settings, if you play on console, for your audio mix, you're actually going to want soundbar. This will give you the best sounds for console. However, if you play on PC, you're going to want to select headphone bass boost, because there's a thing called sound EQ on PC, which is basically like an enhanced audio setting. And this is the audio mix you're going to want to use if you're using sound EQ. So go for that if you're on PC. For console, just soundbar. For master volume, you want this on 100. Gameplay music, have this all the way down to 0, or have it on as low as 6 if you want. Dialogue volume, you want this 50. You don't want too much chatter from your characters. It just gets annoying. For the effects, you want this on 100. Cinematic volume, have this to 0. And then this is more for Warzone when you're in vehicles and stuff. You can have this on whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Me personally, I've just got it on 100. For the voice chat, this is all personal preference depending on your mic. And then the rest I've just left on default, and then yeah, 50, 20, this is just all to do with my headset. For subtitles, I will just have it selected for the campaign. You don't need it for multiplayer, Warzone, or even zombies. It just takes up too much of your screen. And then this setting here, reduce tinnitus sound, make sure you have this on. Basically, this is the sound when you get like stunned or flashed, you get like ringing noise. This will basically reduce it, so make sure this is on. And that's it for audio settings. Now moving over to interface. Right guys, for subtitles, we've already done that earlier, so I've just got it on for the campaign. And then all of this is just like personal preference, like whatever you want your subtitles to be, you can just mess about with that if you want. Language selection, obviously English, or if you speak other languages, just install the right pack. Right guys, so for color customization, so I've actually had a couple of people ask me for my like color palette, like how does my interface look. So I'm actually going to be running it through with you guys now. So in order for me to do this the best way, I'm actually going to reset all of this so I can be with you guys every step of the way. Right, so I'm going to get into it now. So for the HUD color palette, you're going to want this on custom. And then for you, I'm going to go over what you should do for all of these, and then I'm going to fast forward it. So you're going to hit custom color once you've clicked onto you. And then you see where it says saturation, guys, and brightness. Put this all the way to the right, which is like all the way up. And then once you do that, just simply click apply custom color. I'm going to demonstrate it one more time. So click on the one of these, or one of the colors, custom color, and then you don't want to mess with the hue, just the saturation and brightness. And then once you do that, just apply custom color. Right guys, I'm going to go through the rest of these, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Right guys, once you've done that, click square to access the squad member colors, and you basically want to do the exact same thing for this. However, you see where you see this white or silver looking color, you want to put the saturation to the left on this one instead of to the right. Right, I'll see you guys in a bit. Right guys, now that you've done all of that, head down here to color filter settings. You want to have this on filter 2, I believe, and then for the interface you want this to be both. And then you see where it says world color intensity, make sure this is all the way to 100 guys. That will give you the most vibrant colors. Right, and then once you've done that guys, click circle and come back down here because there's a couple more settings that I left out. So once you've done that, so for the horizontal compass, make sure this is on. For crosshairs, click square. And make sure you have center dot toggled on. This will basically help you out with centering. And then all the rest guys, default. Player name, this is on full name by default, but why wouldn't you have this on full name anyway? Because I feel like sometimes the visibility can be very bad in this game, so I would just go for full name. Just to see who your opponents are, especially if you play like ranked play, like on multiplayer and stuff. For all of this, I personally have server latency on. Connection meter can be good, but I feel like it takes up too much of your screen. So if the server latency doesn't work, because I notice sometimes it messes up and it just says NA. If it does the NA thing, then just put on the connection meter. But yeah, if you want to copy my settings, I just have server latency on. And then for all this, it's just default. So I'm going to go to account and network now. So if you actually play on PS5, I would recommend having your crossplay off if you play ranked play. It will make the games a lot more better and there'll be less cheaters. So I would go for that. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you found it helpful in any way, make sure to drop a like and comment if you have any feedback. In a bit, YouTube.